Hello! Welcome to episode 3. I got the lights back on. It's much better now. I got water, and now I'm settled in. Now I know that I'm making a long series of short videos. Thanks for sitting with me for the first two. They were really fun. Now I've got my energy back. I've established what series we're pretty much dealing with, and I've established a lot of what the stars are gonna be, so, get ready for more excitement, eh? Starting to nail these puppet plus voice combos. I could be a ventriloquist of Animal Crossing. Anyhow, how did I you for, right? Number 10. Number 10. Who are you? This is where it gets good. Kirby's Dream Land. Back to the start. Kirby's Dream Land is the only game of Kirby that my friend Liz has played, which I think is incredible, because this is the first Kirby game, and if you don't know, it is nothing like the other Kirby games. It is for the Game Boy, which has become one of my favorite consoles I've never played, maybe just in emulation, because I am so smitten with how these black and white games look without their like green hue, where they're truly like black and white. I just think it looks so cozy and round, and oh my god, marshmallowy, it's great. Dreamland really feels nice. Kirby feels good. I didn't go and give them the whole Kirby feels good star or anything because, you know, combat's mostly whatever, and it lags a little bit if too much is going on, but just on its own right now, you know, I've played it through a bunch of times. It is very different from other Kirby's because it is just like 4 worlds in sequence that are basically Spring Breeze if you've played Superstar, but it's really not the same because it's missing my favorite world. But you know, you can't save, it doesn't save your progress, you just do a run right through that takes like 50 minutes. You do 4 sections with their bosses and then King DDD, and yeah, it's so cozy and musically great. I got a star for its style, because I love how it feels in the Game Boy, and I like how it sounds and everything. It's just super chill. Just the style star kind of combines the music and the aesthetics and stuff. But the worlds themselves give it a star. I love the world, oh my god. It plays into the visuals, like the distinctive visuals of each world is great, but there's just this real special place. Level 2 is Castle Lololo, where Lololo and Lalala as bosses start. I think those are actually HAL creations that they inserted into Kirby. I feel like there's something, or maybe they've gone into a bunch of characters of their own, but Castle Lololo not only has these weird realistic enemies like bats and spiders that just looks so out of place in Kirby, but this big open feeling, and there's even a section of like repeating platforms that makes it feel like an endless room if you don't going indoors. And there's just something so cool about these open and really tall rooms that just do not feel like a thing that's ever been back in Kirby. So it may have been the novelty that made it great, but just the look and feel of stuff like the Puffy Cloud world, and the boss is so pretty in that. Like Krako Jr. has the prettiest boss room. There's just a great sense of world and like levels being different from each other that I think is really precious for, you know, the 4 levels that are there. So yeah, it's like, you know, it's the first game, but not having copy abilities means that it's very different from the other games. That's the kicker. Like, it's just sucking and spitting, and it really reminded me how fun it is. A big part of liking Kirby has been remembering just how fun it is to inhale enemies and spit them. It's simplistic, but it really sits at the core, and I think you're gonna have a lot more fun with Kirby if you can learn to just enjoy eating enemies. That's the most fun part of Dreamland. There's power-ups that you use sometimes. They're all pretty much just destroy the thing in front of you and press B. I wouldn't really give them awards. I mostly just enjoy eating my enemies raw, so it were. But yeah, very simple, very sweet, very nice. A game very different from that is number 9, Super Mystery Dungeon. This is the beefiest video game. I mentioned Gates probably got some backlash. I believe it did get backlash, and I have never quite seen an example of a company responding to backlash quite the way that Strike Chunsoft did with Super. This was like the Gen 6 Mystery Dungeon, and the last one on 3DS, and the last one until it got revived with the Rescue Team remake. And it is a chad. It is just so smart and cool and strong and hot and popular. It's so cool. I gave it 2 stars like early on for the RPG elements are amazing to me. Just, they really polish some things. One big thing is Gates got critiqued for having just like a weird bunch of like 140 Unova and older Pokemon versus the usual like 300 or so Pokemon. So every single dungeon felt like the exact same things again and again being thrown at you. Just the same monsters you'd seen everywhere. It's like, we gotta go to the lava world. You go to the lava world and it's like Crocodile, Swoobat, Poor, all these random Unova Pokemon that aren't on theme that you've already seen like 5 times, and that really just kind of hurt the vibes of each level. So this really has great sense of immersion in every world. Each level you go to has really good music that helps it feel like a distinct place, really good enemies that feel like a distinct place. But beyond, the makeup of the world, the RPG meat of it, I would say, is just they add a great system of temporary boosts that are so fun to manage alongside your items, which are more fun to manage than ever, because you've got wands that do a lot of like the special effects of seeds and orbs in addition to them, but there's some really good things you can use to strategize with your wands. So you're always thinking about item play, basically, I would say. But then also party composition is where the beefed up roster of Pokemon comes from, because they just throw Pokemon at you. They are very proud that they put all 720 in for Gen 6, and instead of doing like routine missions to like deliver a seed to Nidoran, it's like every single mission you do is Pokemon specific. Like each Pokemon has its own mission, and you do that, and every time you do a mission, you're getting a new person added to your team, and it can be overwhelming, but it has a great focus on making trios of Pokemon, and I really like trios. So you can save a bunch of presets of like trio teams, right? So you make all your trios once you're like, man, I think Zorua, Kirlia, and Vivian would be a cool team. You save them, and now you can just use that team. And not only is the combat fun, but having this like party making mechanic is just like, okay, that's perfect. I am super smitten with the diversity of Pokemon and the focus on making cool 3-person teams. But then you just get this really cool human element star of they've got a huge cast of characters, just a wide array of characters that are very easy to remember, I would say, because the characterization comes straight off the Pokemon's design, which is always something I think is cool about Mystery Dungeon, but there's so many examples of them doing it so freaking well that you have 2 basic settings. You have like your childhood, and then halfway through the game, you transition to go like kind of join the adult world and the expedition world, and both settings are full of awesome characters, and I am just blown away by how much they're able to get like the worlds, like the 2 separate areas, to function as like places that feel like how they're supposed to feel, either homey and comforting or exciting and new. And it's also one of the most brutal, I would say the most insidious and heartbreaking plot twist in all of Mystery Dungeon. And I'm not done with the game. I've actually been playing a shit ton of it. That's why I'm so raw about it this week. They have the saddest and most insidious plot twist that I hope nobody ever gets spoiled for them, because I had no clue it was coming. And I look back and I'm like, oh, that was really freaky and scary of you. And it helps give motivation to the evil team. It is just a very cool game where they really said like, oh, you're going to give us the rights to make Mystery Dungeon. We make Mystery Dungeon? Let's scrap everything we have and just remake it. And of course, most of it is the same, but every little thing is like so thoughtfully made, from all those mechanics I talked about getting revamped, or people were like, Gates feels bad for whatever reason, They kept what's good about Gates. I love leveling up moves in both those games. And they kept, a lot of the core gameplay is the same, but I don't know, they just really were very smart. And one really cool thing is they make the levels feel really well tuned. Like the difficulty will rise, but then like there won't be a boss. Or, like the difficulty will rise and there's a boss, but they give you an Expedition Society member to help you, who's really helpful for that. So it's just so cool how many times they push you, and they know that they're pushing you. And I just really have noticed many times, like, well, I see what you did there. Like, you gave me a really, really hard level, but, I don't know, there was lots of good item spawning, or, like, there's not a boss at the end, or, like, it fits the narrative. Like, it's all really thoughtful. I just think it's a really well-made game objectively, and subjectively it hits a lot of my good notes. Very, very comfy game. Again, the music is pretty good. I guess it hasn't hit me in the same way as Gates. Gates may just hit my aesthetic a little bit better, even though they're pretty similar. But just a huge, comfy world and a really exciting human element. Just a really compelling story so far, really compelling characters. So 2 stars for RPGs, just because this is kind of my gold standard for RPGs now. I am just always engaged by it. Like, even though it's crunchy and it's numbers based and all the stuff that I thought I hated, it's just so cool. And I like thinking about it. 2 stars, double RPG star, human element star from the story and the characters, then just the comfy star. You know, it doesn't take much to get a star when your mystery dungeon and your music is that good. And they have a good music player too, which helps you. I feel like you're just really, I don't know, in it. It just has a really good soul, okay? Anyhow, you can tell we're getting high into the list now. Kirby's Dream Land 2. This is the sleeper hit of the year. This game was so good. I didn't give a star for controlling Kirby in Dream Land 1, but I gave 2 Kirby stars in Dream Land 2, and I don't know if I was just caught up in the moment, but I had such a special time playing this game back in September. It was my first Game Boy game in black and white, which I mentioned that I really liked, and this was a game where I figured out that I liked it. It was just, as soon as I picked it up, it was just such a dreamy feeling, so it gets that style star again, from just like this nice music that just has this nice, I don't know, it's like empowering, but it's also kind of chill. It just all fits. And moving Kirby, I gave 2 stars because I guess taking the lag away from Dreamland and giving him his animal friends. This is where the Dark Matter trilogy starts, and you've got your first 3 animal friends. A lot of them do feel amazing to control. Moving around as Chris and moving around as Kine and Rick can be a little frustrating, but they have really good copy abilities that I think is what inspired me giving 2 Kirby stars. I might take it back down a little bit and give it a star someplace else, but you know, it did feel really good to control. It felt like the smoothness of the world was matched by my character, which I can't exactly say about Dreamland, because it was mostly the world doing all the heavy lifting in Dreamland, but Dreamland 2, I love that little Kirby. I love that he can't use his dash. I love that he can't use his down A attack. I love that he just moves and inhales things and solves puzzles. I'm really overdue to replay this. I played it 2 or 3 times and I was crazy about it. Yeah, you know, it just feels great. It has that style. But what Dreamland 2 has is great enemies. I gave it a star because the enemies are really, really, really cute. The Spark enemy looks cuter than normal. A lot of them look cuter than normal. But the bosses are really great. The bosses are amazing. Ice Dragon debuted here. There's the anglerfish that you see in some throwbacks. I don't know, maybe it's in Crystal Shards or something. Sun and Moon are in a lot of these games, Mr. Shine and Mr. Bright, and I really liked fighting them in here. And the best thing is you can refight the bosses in a way with this like mini game where you just kind of play with them. And being invited to go back and just kind of play with a boss in a safe environment that's just like, you know, dodging some version of their attacks and getting power-ups is so awesome for making me just kind of enjoy the boss fight. Like, I thought that was a really cool touch, and the best of all is had a really good finale again. Very much like Adventure, where you've got like the special weapon and you fight the Dark Matter swordsman, who is just as cool as I thought he would be. That's one of the best things, floating around and fighting him and learning his attacks. King Dedede was weirdly brutal once you get to like the true end thing. I think he's a bit harder. He was really tough. And then Dark Matter itself, or Zero or whatever, was, you know, really scary at first and very exciting when I figured it out. But oh my god, it's fighting the Dark Matter swordsman with the sword, whatever the sword is called, the love sword. I don't know. It's so fun. I love it. I love playing it. Yeah, so huge unique star for the enemies, and Kirby's comfy, the game stylish. Really one of my favorite Kirby games of the year. One of my favorite games of the year. So freaking cool. Yeah, it's very cool. Those games feel like a very personal, private place, the Kirby Dream Land ones, but if we have more time for this episode, then I can get into some even more exciting games. I'm not actually sure if I'm going to cut the episode, so sorry if I cut you off, and this is like the beginning of the next episode, but I think we're ready for number 7. Number 7. One step further with Zelda. Number 7 is Link Between Worlds. This really got me. This was my second major 2D Zelda, and oh my god, it was so fun. I said that I wasn't interested in this because, like, the aesthetic is very generic to me. It looks kind of like a spot pass game to me, just like, it's 3D, and it came out in 2013. It looks very normal. I've come to like it a lot more. The UI actually got its own star because I like the user interface so much. Just the buttons feel amazing. The start menu feels amazing. Switching your items feels amazing. It is so comfy. it wins a Link star just for how comfy Link is to control. So Link and UI, I clearly just enjoy playing this game. It is, you know, it's a pretty normal 2D Zelda and stuff, but Link himself is just so fun to control. His little sword, his items all feel really nice, and merging onto the wall feels really good. There's kind of a Miyamotoism there. That little gimmick really feels good. What else is up with Link in that game? Bottle, you know, all the items feel really good. Bottle, yeah, the most important part of that game. But it gets a star and a half probably from the pick-apart world element. This is one of the games that defined the pick-apart world feel for me. I love the collectibles. I love going around. Even though there's actually not much for item progression, I love the moments that do have a little bit of item progression because they underline this feeling of just like, oh, I want to get back there and get that Mai, the little cute little squirming snail that calls out for you. It was one of my favorite parts. Getting all the Mai, getting all the whatever, all the treasure chests, getting all the little mission chest things that you can do. Oh my god, that game is so comfortable and it is so fun going around just getting stuff. The dungeons may also be one of my favorites. I noticed that a lot of them have this nice sort of choice of paths that I like in a dungeon. It doesn't feel like it's railroading me or forcing me very much. People call them easy. I guess they're easy. I haven't played that much, I guess. You know, I've played a lot, but not that much in this year and a half. I don't find them super easy. Hero mode was kind of frustrating. Hero mode Wind Waker I played this year and I really liked it. I don't think I'm halfway through my hero mode run. I don't really love it. I believe hearts spawn, right? I think hearts spawn because I haven't been using potions that much. I would honestly, I think the enemies do too much damage. After a few dungeons, I didn't really mind the enemy damage output in Wind Waker, but in this game, it's just like, come on. Like, I die stupidly so frequently, and I don't really enjoy that. I enjoy hero mode when it's a matter of like, oh, you gotta manage your items, but I don't like hero mode when it's a matter of like, you bumped into him and now it's over. Yeah, there's not much to say. I wouldn't say it's worth a star, but I did really like the low roll cast. All three of them were really compelling for me, and the finale was really worth it for me. Just little things about it really made it resonate, despite being kind of simple. I could have used a lot more Yuga. I thought he was so cool. I didn't like how he kind of disappeared early. I do actually have some pacing issues. I used to be more mad about this, but now I'm just a little bit disappointed in that they sort of have all the exciting stuff happen while you get the Master Sword, and then they decide arbitrarily, I would say, to have 7 whole dungeons in the Dark World. It is just far too much time with no story in the Dark World. It is just so much time. I wish that they divided the dungeons better. That's all I'm really gonna say. So much happens without any story progressing, while so much story happens in the first, like, third of the game in Hyrule. That's really all, though. It's just kind of what it could be. It's really one of the gatekeepers to my favorite Zeldas. Absolutely, my favorite of the non-absolute favorites. if that's a tier. All right. I hope I excited you with the energy that I have for that game, because I think I'm gonna pause and move on to the final video now, if that's cool with you. I'll be back. I need to drink water, but see you. I'm gonna cut it here.